Members of the heist team are in custody. Now for this hour, we start with Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reports that Russian forces have fired around 36 missiles and launched nearly 600 drones across the country, striking cities and infrastructure through the night. Meanwhile, Ukraine's energy ministry says that the barrage hit key facilities in Kyiv and 5 other regions, knocking out power to more than 600,000 consumers. Energy teams are working to restore electricity as officials warn the strikes are part of Moscow's push to pressure Ukraine ahead of the winter. Meanwhile, Ukraine says its naval drones forced operations to halt at a Russian oil terminal, calling it a targeted effort to disrupt Russia's oil supply chains. The scale of the attack highlights just how intense the fighting remains, even as diplomatic efforts continue in the background to end the war. Now for this discussion, we welcome Alison Mutler. She's a former AP Bureau Chief in Romania, joins us live from Bucharest. Thank you very much, Alison, for joining us again. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Alison, looking at this now, in what ways could these continued large-scale attacks by both sides, how do you think this affects the ongoing diplomatic efforts aimed at negotiating for the end of this conflict?
Well, I think it's fairly clear that Russia is trying to keep up the pressure on Ukraine to really cause a lot of damage, to take lives, to disrupt everyday life, to show that it's playing hardball, that it is unwilling to compromise, and that if to really punish Ukraine, and if Ukraine does not agree to its demands, this is a taste of what there is to come. Now, we've seen that Ukraine is a valiant, a brave fighter, so they are fighting back very strategically. They're taking out energy and naval ships, etc. So both sides are fighting very strongly. So I suppose that gives the message that it would be great to have peace, but it also shows if we don't have peace, and particularly Russia is the stronger partner here, if we don't have peace on Russia's terms, this is a taste of what is to come. Continued bombardment, continued disruption, continued death, basically.
And do you think there are any potential political and diplomatic implications for both these countries if they don't halt or slow down on hitting each other continuously?
Oh, sure. It's hard to say. Obviously, Donald Trump wants peace as soon as possible. He wants deals to be done on minerals, etc. He won't be pleased with what Russia is doing, or Ukraine, but I would imagine particularly Russia. It's hard to say how it will have political implications, except I think it will make the United States, which is guiding these peace talks behind the scenes, or not particularly behind the scenes, guiding these peace talks, it will want to make them reach a peace deal at any cost, I think, because they can see how much damage and death and destruction this ongoing war is causing. So I suppose the ongoing hostilities, particularly by Russia on civilian targets, is politically in Russia's favor.
This is affecting Ukraine on the other side. You know, you said that this is working on Russia's favor.
Yeah, but it's affecting Ukraine, which is making them dig in their heels, which is making Europe be very strongly opposed to Russia and saying, this is how Russia is. Russia, we need to have a peace deal, and we can't trust Russia because Russia is not a trustworthy partner. So I think it just ups, to be honest, it ups the tensions on both sides because Europe is really trying to come together at the moment to present a credible alternative peace plan because they don't trust Russia. They don't trust Russia's aggression. And something that's very interesting, which is not mentioned in any of these peace deals, is Russia's ongoing hybrid war against all of Europe, against European democracies. It wants to destroy European democracies. There is no mention of this. I mean, it would be hard to imagine that we'd come to some kind of peace deal, then suddenly Russia would consider Europe an ally. It's impossible to believe.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Alison for sharing that insight. But please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, we stay on this topic. United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says the peace plan proposed by United States for Ukraine could prevent future conflicts. He has added that the plan could also strengthen partnerships among the US, Russia, and Ukraine. Witkoff says that if the plan is accepted, it will not only serve as a safeguard against new conflicts, but also create opportunities for the three countries to maintain trade relations. The U.S. earlier presented a 28-point proposal aimed at resolving the Ukraine crisis, which prompted pushback from Kyiv and European partners seeking refinements. Consultations took place in Geneva on November 23rd, with both U.S. and Ukrainian delegations reaching agreement on most provisions. However, several points remain pending for discussions between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump states the plan has been streamlined from 28 points to 22. Officials say the reduced plan aims to promote stability, diplomacy, and a long-term path to peace in the region. Now, for this discussion, we welcome back Alison Mutler. She's a former AP Bureau Chief in Romania, joins us live from Bucharest. Thank you very much, Alison, for staying with us. Now, Alison, looking at this, what do you think is pushing Trump's administration, or Trump in particular, to gain peace or to get to peace between Ukraine and Russia?
Money, mineral reserves, having access to rich Ukrainian reserves, and to stop funding, or to stop this war, and to stop sending weapons. It's a very much a business transaction. Witkoff is a real estate mogul. He's only interested in business, and the fact and the idea that Russia, the United States, and Ukraine can all live peacefully and make money. It's a dream. He should dream on. There have been more than 1 million deaths there. There is a bitter fight. There is no agreement on how to end the war. That's just a pipe dream on his behalf. I mean, obviously that's what he'd like, but it is extremely naive. The problem is, we saw the 28-point police plan. Now we know it's been changed in 22. It's a bit unclear which one we're talking about. What is clear is it's still being negotiated. And if it's being negotiated, we have to take into account Ukraine and Russia's point of view, because Russia has been, from what we've seen, absolutely refuses to budge on any of the issues. It wants its maximalist demands. Ukraine itself doesn't want to be told it can't join NATO. It doesn't want to be told it has to drastically cut its troops. It doesn't want to be told it has to give up territory that Russia hasn't conquered. I personally think we're quite a long way from reaching agreement on all sides. And Witkoff is just saying what he would like, but it seems to me like a fairy tale.
Right, and building on that, what do you think about the security guarantees? We don't know who is going to be emphasizing or making sure that this ceasefire holds on. Otherwise, it's going to be just like how the ceasefire is in Gaza. It did reach, but now the fighting continues on the ground. So, to making sure that this ceasefire holds on, do we know anything about the security guarantees or future conflict prevention for this?
Well, these ceasefire plans look quite nice on paper. Everybody's relieved the war has ended. There'll be no more killing, no more fighting. But in practice, they rarely hold, because the people still have the hostilities between them. They still have the weapons. The issues actually haven't been resolved. And particularly in Ukraine and Russia, I very much doubt any ceasefire would hold. Obviously, you would need that hasn't been discussed, but you need an international force on the ground, whether that's UN, something like we had in Kosovo 20 odd years ago. It needs to be NATO. I'm not sure what that would be too problematic for Russia, but there does need to be some international neutral peacekeeping force on the ground. And it's a big country, and we're talking about a lot of land. So that's thousands and thousands of troops and a lot of logistics. But honestly, I cannot see any ceasefire holding there. There may be a slowdown in the hostilities. At best, I think we could see a frozen conflict that we have in other parts of the former Soviet Union, but I cannot see a proper a ceasefire holding at all.
So, building on your answer, what do you think? What needs to change so to make sure that the ceasefire will hold?
I think some sort of frozen conflict and a lot of boots on the ground, international peacekeepers. It will never properly hold, but if that happens, there could be basically a more or less an end to hostilities. But I see it as a very, very difficult situation because we've had more than 1 million deaths. People have been displaced, homes have been destroyed, energy centers have been destroyed. That you can't just resolve these things overnight. There's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of destruction. I know, Trump and Witkoff would like to resolve it overnight to get their hands on the minerals. But the reality on the ground, I mean, Donald Trump hasn't been there, nor has Witkoff been in those eastern areas of Ukraine, those southern areas of Ukraine. It's very, very problematic. And at this moment, I can't really see a resolution, except for there will have to be some international peacekeeping force. And that really hasn't been talked about. So I think unless there's very advanced discussions going on behind the scenes, which is possible, then we are some way from getting any semblance of peace whatsoever.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Alison for sharing that insight on this news. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well.